Do you ever wonder how the adjustable weighting in a modern driver actually works and how it affects the flight of the ball? There's three factors to consider when the club head strikes the ball. Number one is momentum. Momentum is Isaac Newton's first law of motion. It states that when an object is in motion, it wishes to stay in motion and stay in the same direction of motion. We all experience momentum all the time when we're in a car. You put on the brakes, your body gets pulled forwards. You turn to the left, your body gets pulled to the right. It's all down to the fact that when anything's in motion, it always wants to stay at the same speed and stay in the same direction of motion. The second thing to consider is the fact that the ball doesn't actually leave the club face instantaneously. It actually gets compressed onto the club face. It gets squashed literally onto the club face. With modern technology and modern cameras now, you can see images of exactly that happening. It's quite interesting. The ball gets completely squashed onto the club face. The golf ball then obviously reacts, and the ball literally springs back off the club face. But this doesn't happen instantaneously. In fact, relatively speaking, the golf ball is on the club face for quite a long time. Now, the third thing to consider is the fact that every action has a reaction, and we create what we call a recoil effect. Basically, what that means is that when the club strikes the ball, if there's any slight twisting in the club, that will create an effect in the shaft, and the shaft is then literally under stress, and the shaft will react to that stress and it will kick the head back in the opposite direction. It's literally an action and a reaction. So we're going to imagine for a second that our preferable golf shot, our preferable drive, is a nice little draw down the fairway. So how can we help to achieve that? Well, what we would do is bring the weighting of the head and move it closer to the heel. So we'd load up the heel with weight. If you've got a Titleist driver with one of those bars that you slide into the head, you'd put the weighted end of that bar towards the heel. If you've got a driver where the weight literally slides along the bottom, bring it across into the heel. So with the heel weighted, what happens is this. As the club strikes the ball, the weighted, heavier part of the club, the heel, because of momentum, carries forward. The ball is then being squashed and compressed onto the face. We've created a little bit of stress up the shaft because the golf club now has twisted slightly, and the shaft reacts to that with a recoil effect, which then literally catapults the toe forward. Now, because the ball is on the club face for a little while, the golf ball is actually now far more affected by the recoil effect than it is from the actual action of the heel being carried forward. So again, to hit a draw, we weight the heel. Club strikes the ball, the heel carries forward for a split second, the recoil effect then kicks in, catapults the toe forward, and because the ball is on the club face for actually a little while, the ball now is far more affected by the recoil effect, and the toe being catapulted forwards will put draw spin onto your ball. That's how to get a draw by adjusting the weight in your driver.